Hi everyone, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to take a look at the MSI Z790 Max Tomahawk. Now I am slowly slowly working through all of the Z79 boards that I had for launch. I have been paying attention to the comments where people have been asking about the undervolting guide. I just need to get the motherboards out of the way first. So effectively I want some time to work with the motherboards, each of the different brands, because I am going to do an undervolting guide for each of the brands I've done. So you'll get one for Gigabyte, Asus and MSI. Now, the MSI Tomahawk, it's actually one of the, I struggle to say, more affordable boards that I've done so far, and I use the term only lightly, but I found it online for £319. Now that's obviously significantly less than some of the others, but you know, at the end of the day, I can remember when a Tomahawk board would have been like £150. So prices have gone crazy, but that is the world we're living in at the moment, and I can't do anything about that. So we're going to be taking a look at this. I have undervolted it. We have a range of benchmarks, games, productivity, Cinebench, synthetics like 3D Mark as well, so stay tuned. Paid particular attention to the VRM temperatures with this one as well, so we can do some comparisons with that with the other board. And we did use a 14900K as we have done with all the other boards to keep things fair. But it would be probably best if we have a decent look around the board, which means I need to rip it back out of the case to show you, and then we can look to see how it performs. Okay, so in the box, despite it being one of the cheaper boards, it's not completely empty. It's actually got more than some of the more expensive boards. So you get a nice front panel extension cable, just so that you can tuck everything round the back of the motherboard tray. Nice little thing. You do get your drivers on a USB stick, also kind of nice. A pair of SATA cables. Some of the boards don't even come with SATA cables anymore. You get some stickers, so you get some Lucky stickers, very cute Lucky sticker, and then also some cable tabs as well, or wire markers, so you know what's what and what's doing what. Easier to find later. And then you do get an antenna for the Wi-Fi 7. Now the board itself, as we have a look around, it does have that striking aesthetic with the fluorescent yellow. It is something I wished that they'd put more of that yellow onto the actual heatsink. Now this is the E360 that you can get from MSI. The yellow does make me think of the old Lightning days, and I do just wish they'd kind of done a little bit more with that, because I actually think it's kind of cool. It's still kind of nice. But again, personal preference. Anyway, 2 8-pins at the top, solid pins but not shielded around the outside. You've got a couple of 4-pin headers here, then you've got 2 addressable RGBs, and then another fan header there. These are the LEDs for your poster readout, so you can see if the board is hanging at any point. You'll be able to get an idea on how to narrow it down with this. USB 3, then you've got the USB 4 here for your front panel, which is kind of nice. Only up to 30 watt though, because there isn't an extra power connector to be able to feed it with. 6 SATAs, and then down the bottom there's another couple of SATAs, front panel header, 2 internal USBs, 4 more fan headers down the bottom here, which is quite nice. And then you've got an addressable RGB there and a normal RGB there. 1 more fan header as well. It has actually got quite a lot of fan headers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in total. Yeah, very nice. 2 M.2s underneath this, another M.2 underneath that, PCI Express 5 M.2 underneath that one. See the VRM area there. And then round the back, you can see a plethora of connections there. Does have the HDMI and DisplayPort up here if you're using onboard video. 2.5G Ethernet, Wi-Fi 7, big audio section in reality. And then, yeah, so it's not like flagship loads of it. They could have obviously put more USBs in there if they wanted to. They could have gone for USB 4. There's a few different things that they could have done, but obviously the more you cram onto things, the more it gets expensive. And one of the things I would say is if you need extra USBs for like your keyboard, your mouse, your audio, just buy a USB 3 hub and run them all off of that. It's all I do, and it can actually tidy up the cabling around your desk as well, because then you don't have to send all the USBs back to your actual case. You can make them tidier. Now, it's not the end of the world on this one, but it has been the warmest VRMs or set of VRMs that we have tested so far. But the reason why I say it's not the end of the world is because the warmest so far means they've got to 60 something degrees. I can't remember off the top of my head. The graph is obviously magically popped up, but I know it starts with 6. I think it's 62. But that's the worst part about it in reality. When I undervolted it, it did stay slightly warmer CPU temp wise than I have seen with the other boards, but the Ace Max that I have tested already was exactly the same as well. It will be a BIOS setting in there somewhere, but without getting in there and getting into the nitty gritty, it's difficult to pick it apart. Although I have brought this up with MSI directly. One of the things I will say about the MSI stuff though is it is really strong. The Ace Max in high load scenarios is one of, if not the best board that I've tested so far. This board, I do struggle to say being affordable or lower price, because they all of the brands and all of the boards do still feel expensive. But one of the lower priced ones that I've tested so far, if not the lowest priced one I've tested so far, it's a very consistently strong board. It didn't give me any problems. All of the scores were there or thereabouts, but it was up near the kind of, it never topped a graph, but it never embarrassed itself either. It was never really like consistently at the bottom of anything. So for the fact it comes in with the lower price, the VRMs aren't getting hot, even though we were running an i9, and then it's consistently putting out good scores, are all positive points. The fact that the BIOS is then making the processor noticeably warmer than we've had with some of the other boards isn't the side of it that's slightly difficult to contend with. Because as I have said, with all of the boards, I personally, even at stock clocks, you're going to need to undervolt it unless you're taking the lid off the CPU and delidding it, because they all get ridiculously hot. It doesn't matter what board, what you've done, you are going to be seeing 100 degrees. You need to remember that when testing this, I'm running a 420mm Corsair AIO, it's the H170, and even with 100% fans, I'm hitting 100 degrees with the CPUs on all the boards at stock volts and stock clocks. You do need to tail it back. Now with this being slightly more affordable than the other ones, I like the stronger aesthetic with the yellow, but MSI, you're going to need to find yourself a very comfortable branding placement and then have products that all match. Because I look at this with this strong yellow and I want a graphics card from you to match this. I know you've got your silver boards with the white accents, and there's a guy in the UK office called Jack now doing this because I've brought it up again, but the silver stuff with the white bits on it, you've got a silver and a white graphics card, so it kind of matches. We need the black with the yellow brought into something as well, and I think it's a really nice aesthetic. I like the fact it's not screaming with RGB, I like the fact it's not overcomplicated, and it gets the job done. Now this could quite easily be something you just fit in your case, get your cooling right, undervolt it, and do you know what, I reckon with the way that MSI works, they're quite on point with their BIOS. The BIOS guy, Manny, he'll be the sort of guy that they'll end up having an undervolting option in the BIOS. You never know, it might happen, but it's definitely something that you're going to want to do. Now, when I do my undervolting guide, I'm going to use the Tomahawk because I don't want to use the £600-700 motherboards to do a guide for everyone. So I'm specifically working towards doing them all on the slightly more affordable ones so that it's a better range for everyone at home, but also so that you have to work that little bit harder at home to find your sweet spot. because if you've got a better board than me, then you may be able to get away with lower volts or slightly looser load line calibration or something like that. But anyway, I really like this. I think it's, in relative terms, compared to other boards for 14th gen, I think it's a decent value for money. Compared, if you compare it to older boards like 690 and 590, then obviously things are getting expensive rather fast. But in the grander scheme of the boards that you can buy today, I think it's good value for money. So please don't twist my words. Understand where I'm trying to say that, you know, this is cheaper than some of the other boards, still gets the job done, doesn't give you any problems, and is still going to play the games at roughly the same frames per second as your mate that's bought an £800 motherboard and has the same processor. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, so very capable for the price. I'd love to see a graphics card that matched, and definitely gets a thumbs up from me. The MSI BIOS engineers are doing wonders with these, but please, BIOS boys, see if there's something you can do about bringing the overall CPU temperatures down, because you are consistently warmer than the other brands.